You see people in the health world, fitness world. God, how do they get a six-pack? Oh, you gave me a tire around my waist. What happens? Every time I compare, I feel less than. Never compare your becoming to someone else's becoming. Every time I compare myself to someone else, I'm always going to lose my way. Because the gap that God is filling in my life is not the gap between me and you, but rather the gap that God is filling in my life is who I currently am and who He's calling me to become.
Compare yourself to who you were yesterday and not to who someone else is today. See, that's a game you can win. You could be a little better today than you were yesterday. And that's a good thing. You know, no doubt there are some things that you could improve. You know, if you sit and meditate for any length of time about what you're not doing optimally, answers will spring to mind.
Stop comparing yourself to other people. You're only on this planet to be you.
The first thing I think you need to understand is that these people that you're comparing yourself to, you don't really know very well. What that means is that you see their shiny outside, but you don't see the reality of their life.
Social media just shows the highlights, right? We live in a time where perception has become our God. And I know this might seem over the top, but we really live in a time where perception has become our God. People are more concerned about the perception of them than the reality of them. They want to make people think they're a certain way than letting the world see how they truly are, right? A lot of insecurity, a lot of significance things that are driven in that whole conversation.
I went on Instagram the other day and I saw Kevin Hart and I felt like a failure in my whole life. I felt like, what am I doing with my whole life? Within 15 seconds, here I am with a burden on me that I wasn't built for by comparing myself to someone with a different calling.
That little moment that I stopped pretending allowed the real me to come through. Your life journey is about learning to become more of who you are and fulfilling the highest, truest expression of yourself as a human being. That's why you're here.
The ideal that you're observing that makes you jealous and resentful is in large part an illusion that's created by your own mind. You have to be careful of what you're jealous of because you don't really know what it is. And then the other thing that's kind of useful is to understand that you're different from everyone else.
You see the person traveling the world, you see the person making moves with their life, all these things, and instead of those things inspiring us, sometimes, it discourages us because it makes us think that we aren't where we should be. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that we can make is comparing our lives to other people's lives, because you have to understand something. Your journey is your journey. We all have different paths in life, and the more we compare our journey to other people's journey, the more we'll appreciate our path of our lives. I should be doing what God has called me to do. I should be doing what's best for my life. Because if we pull back the curtains on a lot of people's lives, who knows? Your life could be a lot better than theirs. You might be thanking God that you're not in their shoes. You're wishing to be in their shoes, but once you get in their shoes, you realize that their walk, their path, their journey is a lot harder than yours. And what they were showing you was just something that you can perceive to be great, something that you can perceive to be good, something that you can perceive to be successful. We live in a world full of fakeness.
So I believe that whatever season you find yourself in, married, unmarried, single, divorced, is complicated. I believe you can walk in security. Be the minority because the majority is overrated. We're living in a day and age right now where so many people, they bow down to the culture. And we just start doing what the crowd is doing, whatever the crowd says to do. So many of us, we're just doing things that we don't even agree with or believe in simply because our friends are doing it. The only problem with that notion is that your friends don't have the life that you want.
Don't have a weak mentality. You weren't created to fall apart when pressure comes. You are stronger than you think. You are more anointed than you think. God designed you with special strength, with courage, with fortitude. When you start seeing yourself as strong, empowered, well able, you won't be overwhelmed. You'll discover strength that you didn't know you had.
So if you want to do something, if you thought about something you want to do, take it head on. Decide that you're going to start becoming involved in whatever and wherever it might lead you to begin to explore the possibilities in that particular thing that you're seeking. Decide that you're going to face it, that whatever shortcomings you have, that you're going to strengthen yourself there. Whatever training that's required, that you're going to go get that training. That you're going to get started right now. Do what you can, where you are with what you have, and never be satisfied. Always strive to be more than that which you are. Yeah, don't get satisfied with yourself. Always know that wherever you are, you can enjoy more, that you deserve more.
True leadership is self-discovery. True leadership begins with an individual discovering something about themselves. That's when it really begins. And you will never become a true leader until you are introduced to yourself.
Actually, whatever happened to you that was hard, if you trust God, you can actually end up being a better person than you would have been if it would have never happened. And so God really wants us to take a real positive attitude toward things. And it's hard. It's hard when you're hurting.
Well, how do we build this self-confidence? The process of building self-confidence is actually very easy. Self-confidence is self-trust. Self-confidence is building a reputation with yourself, that you keep your word to you, that you keep the promises you make to you. Somebody with self-confidence has a reputation with themselves that I do the things I say I'm going to do. That's where self-confidence comes from. When I meet someone who is not self-confident, I know this is someone who has consistently made promises to themselves they've not kept. They've made a commitment and goals to go make a certain amount of money in business. And so they have a process and a habit in their life, more often than not, of not keeping the promises they don't make to other people. They don't keep the promises they make to themselves.
You got to take care of the small disciplines before life will give you a chance to handle the more complicated disciplines. You start first with the smallest of disciplines, and do not neglect them and do not disregard them as being trifling. Everything matters. Everything's important. All disciplines affect each other. Everything affects everything else. It's so easy to be casual and say, well, this doesn't matter. I'm telling you, everything matters. Then here's the positive side. Every new discipline affects all your other disciplines.
Now, self-discipline, the first thing it does, it enables you to go uphill. Nobody will carry you uphill. Nobody can coach you uphill. Nobody can push you uphill. You got to do it yourself. There are no free rides uphill. There's no such thing as accidental achievements.
So for all of us out there that are chasing after these big dreams and big goals, and we are making changes in our life to get better, all of us out there who know deep down we can do a little bit more in our lives, I want to ask you, what is your definition of success? A lot of people put success on this mountaintop and they say, I'll feel successful when I get here, when I make this amount of money, when I find this person. And a lot of people don't understand that success is all around them right now.
Step up your activity level. Step up your labor level. Go for the disciplines, the smallest of disciplines, the least of disciplines. If you'll be faithful, if you'll be disciplined when the amounts are small, we'll make you a ruler, give you a position of authority when the amounts are many. Take care of your disciplines when the amounts are small, and then life will see to it that you get some extraordinary numbers to work with. Let us not neglect, do not neglect the smallest of disciplines, and build on that foundation, and you can have everything you could possibly want.
Every multi-millionaire and every multi-billionaire in this world have all decided that I'm going to commit myself to this career, this vision, this goal. No parties. They're going to call you names. They're going to say you're corny. They're going to call you a square. Those are the characteristics of a champion. Those are the characteristics of someone that have said that I have decided that I'm going to create a shift in this universe.
Don't ask for better seed and soil. All you got's what's available. Don't curse what you got. Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems. Wish for more skills. Commit yourself to learning so that you can get smarter for the days ahead. Those that do the work get to pay. Don't violate the conclusions of your own philosophy by not executing and taking action.
Managing my mind is actually the key to peace and the key to happiness. An unmanaged mind leads to tension. A managed mind leads to tranquility. An unmanaged mind leads to pressure. A managed mind leads to peace. An unmanaged mind leads to stress. If you don't manage your thoughts, you just let them go all over the place. You don't ever even try to control your mind and the way you direct your thoughts. But a managed mind leads to strength and leads to security and leads to serenity.
As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Why? Here's why. Because the heart is the Hebrew word that has to do with the center of reasoning. It's the place where you have meetings with yourself. Because that's where your belief system is hidden. In other words, your heart is also, Paul calls it the hidden man. The psychologists would call it your subconscious mind. I call it your hard drive.
Get going. You got to get going. You got to take action. Don't let neglect destroy your days, destroy your life, and destroy your future. Go back and do what you can. And if you'll do what you can, then life will give you some extraordinary things to do.
I can't wait to go to work today. It may not be the job I want, but at least I got a job. I'm so grateful I got a car to drive to work today. Hey man, at least I got a check coming in. I sure want to thank you, Lord, for this roof over my head today. I appreciate the fact that I don't have a car, but at least I can walk to the train. Man, this is going to be great today. You have got to change the way you think. It is the whole determining factor of where you go in life. We are all where we are today because we thought ourselves to this position.
If you make it to the end of this video, I want you to write, today, I'm gonna decide to not die before I die. I want you to share this video. It's not lonely at the top if you help somebody else get there.
Need a little pick-me-up today? Welcome to the new Fresh Motivation app, where you'll find daily motivation, daily quotes. Listen to your favorite speeches in the background or with a black screen, so nothing interrupts your motivational moment, where you can create your personal profile, create playlists of your favorite speeches and quotes, add personal notes, and start setting goals. Fresh Motivation, the home of motivation. Get it now for free on Google Play.
We are controlled by what we focus on and what things mean. But the problem is most of us have been conditioned, and we let the world and the environment train us to think like everybody else. And listen, you and I both know, I'm not into positive thinking. I'm into the truth. I'm into intelligence. I'm into seeing it as is, but not worse than it is. I'm into seeing it better than it is, so there's a vision. Otherwise, you have no direction. And then I'm into doing what it takes to turn it around. See, you've got to control the meaning. If you control the meaning, you have an extraordinary life. But if you let the media, external people, then you'll be a follower. And most people, you tell me, are most Americans healthy, vital, strong, healthy? Are most Americans in a passionate relationship for decades where they don't just hang out, they love each other and want to be with each other? Do most people have a career or a job or a company that they love, can't wait to go to every day? You know, the answer is, most people, the answer is no. But there's a few who do. And I mentioned a few who do versus the many who talk. And then finally, the third decision is, what are you going to do? Because what you're going to do is different than if your meaning is they're dissing me, than if your meaning is they're challenging me, than if their meaning is they're loving on me. Make sense? And so it's important to learn to find empowering meanings, to Train yourself to focus on what you have, instead of what's missing, what you can do, what you can do this moment, what you can do in the future. Those are just a couple samples. And if you do that, you're going to be in a state where you're going to know what to do, or you're going to learn what to do quickly. And if you don't know what to do, trust your gut and take some kind of action. You go, what if it's the wrong action? You'll find out quicker and you can change again. But if you sit on the fence doing nothing, it'll just create frustration or fear and anxiety. So as you go through your graduation today, remember, it's in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. So choose well. And as you do, choose in a way where you're kind to yourself and kind to others, and where you trust that there's something in you larger than your mind. There's a spirit and soul inside you that can guide you. You can ask for that guidance and you can trust in that guidance. And that does not mean you're always going to make the right choice, but it does mean that you can learn from everything. And in the end, life's not about just being happy, right? If you're happy all the time, your face hurts. You ever smiled so much for so much your face hurts? We need balance. What we really need is a life of meaning. And that's a life where it's not just about you. It's a life of service. If you can find something or someone that you care so much for, you'll do anything for them, then the greatest part of you will come out. It could be a mission for your community. It could be for the world. It could be your family. It could be your friends. It could be your lover. It could be anything. Could be in the future, maybe your children. But if you can find something you care about more than yourself, you're not going to suffer. Because in the end, there's only two options: suffer or grow. If you're suffering, you haven't grown yet. And so grow into a new set of beliefs that take you beyond the focus of limitation to what's truly possible. So congratulations. This is a beautiful day. Even though it may be challenging in all kinds of ways, remember, a worthy opponent what creates a great hero. And you've got a great story to write in the life of your life. You've already written a beautiful story to start with, but I really trust and send prayers and faith and love that you have create the most compelling future possible, and that you build a life that is truly magnificent on your terms. Lead, don't follow. God bless, and live with passion.
If this body is dying and you can make peace with that, is this you? Is this who you really are? And then it opens up the question, who are you really? Are you this body? This body every 7 years changes. The cells change every 7 years, regenerate. So literally after 7 years, you have a totally different body, a totally different cellular structure. Technically, you are a different person. And so are you just this body? Are you just your past? Are you just your memory? What am I? Who am I? And so I think this is the question. And so for me, death, the real death, is not just the death of this physical body, because I believe that what we are is not just this body. We are something more than this physical body. I think the real death is the letting go of the attachment and the identification of this conditioned sense of self that we have learned to be based on our past, based on our experiences, based on our childhood, based on our conditioning, based on what our parents told us. You're this kind of person, you're not this kind of person, you'll never make it, you're stupid, you're amazing, you're great, you're not good at math, you're not a creative person. And so we identify with these thought forms, and we identify with these belief systems, and then we hold tightly onto this sense of identification as a sense of me. And so really, I like to question people and ask you, is who you are, who you really are? You look at a child is in touch with its innocence. A child is in touch with his or her aliveness. It will dance naked. It's not thinking, am I fat? What do you think? It's just that's freedom. That's liberation. That's freedom. They're in touch with, I like to call it the divine. Their essence, their soul. There's a free expansiveness that they're in touch with. But what happens? We're born into a world where we meet our parents. And our parents, they're just doing the best that they can do based on their past and their conditioning and their childhood and their traumas and just their life. And so we're born into this experience. And as children, we learn two things. The first thing is we learn all sorts of ways, often unconsciously, out of survival, to shut down, disconnect, not feel the pain of my dad's an alcoholic, not feel the pain of my dad is not around, not feel the pain of my mother's crazy or my parents are screaming all the time. As children, we're very sensitive to this. And so we learn all sorts of ways to shut down our feeling capacity, to disconnect, and we start suppressing our feeling and our emotion and our sensitivity just to ultimately function and survive. And then we learn all sorts of ways to sort of go into the world. Me personally, I became the preacher's kid. I became the nice guy. I became the perfect son. The perfect person who couldn't make any mistakes. I became the responsible one, which was the over-responsible one. So we learned to develop all of these roles, you know, that we kind of suppress our feelings and our pain, and we develop all these roles to ultimately function and survive. So we contort ourselves into a certain shape to avoid pain, to get love and validation and approval. We contort ourselves into a certain shape, and then we identify with the shape that we've become, thinking, this is just who I am. And now we're so identified with this as me, but it's simply a conditioned sense of self. And so the more tightly we're holding on to this way of being, because maybe it worked for us when we were 5, it worked for us when we were 8, it worked for us when we were 10, but maybe it doesn't work for us when we're 22 or 25 or 27 or 30 or whatever the age is, you know. So often what worked for us when we were younger doesn't work for us as we're older. And so I think the degree to which we're identified as the sense of self inhibits our sense of freedom, inhibits our sense, our ability. Many people, we feel like that we have so much potential. You know, I think there's many folks listening and that we feel like, God, there's so much I want to give. There's so much I want to love. There's so much I want to do and express, but it doesn't get out because it's trapped inside of this sort of identification and these patterns of conditioning. So for me, I think one of the things that keeps us stuck in a simple level are all the ways we lie to ourselves, you know, all the ways we bullshit ourselves, all the ways we don't tell the truth to ourselves, all the ways we rationalize, you know, I'm in a relationship and it's not so bad, it's okay, I should be grateful, you know, and the truth is, we know it's not aligned. Or maybe someone's working a job that they deeply hate inside, where they're compromising their integrity, but they're afraid of, how am I going to survive if I'm really honest?
What it takes today to live a long and healthy life, it's so multifaceted. And nutrition is definitely, it plays a major role in that regard, but it's just one part of the puzzle. And so whereas Genius Foods, my first book, I consider to be sort of the ultimate nutritional care manual for the human brain, having a brain that functions as well as it ought to requires a lot more than just healthy eating today, unfortunately. I mean, I wish it was as easy as eating, you know, a handful of blueberries and wild salmon and, you know, some nuts here and there, but actually, you know, the modern world is sort of like the Hunger Games for the human brain. And I know you love the movie references, and we're being attacked from every which way, from, you know, the industrial chemicals which we are confronted with on a daily basis, many of which we've been exposed to for the entirety of our lives, to the fact that, you know, leisure time physical activity is at an all-time low, to the fact that our food supply has become saturated with ultra-processed foods, to the fact that our circadian clocks are completely out of whack. So the Genius Life, I really explore all of the facets of what it takes to live healthy. I include nutrition and diet as well. But it's really packed with sort of the little changes that you can make in your day-to-day life that are going to have big wins in terms of your health.
When you were doing the research, what was something that really surprised you?
Well, I think it was kind of, you know, it was scary the degree to which the odds are stacked against the average human. And that was very eye-opening. But it was also simultaneously...
What stacks the odds against us?
Well, just the fact that, you know, whether it's access to healthy food or air pollution or, you know, the industrial chemicals that we use to clean or even create our domiciles, you know, our homes, we're inundated with exposures that are not doing our biology any favors. So those are that's what I mean. I mean, today, it's frightening when you look around, you see people that are, you know, struggling with overweight, with being obese. 66% of the population is either overweight or obese. Half of the population is either pre-diabetic or has type 2 diabetes, which we know both of those conditions is actually a late marker for chronically elevated insulin or hyperinsulinemia, which can go on for years, if not decades, before your blood sugar actually starts to inch up, to a degree that a doctor would measure it. People are not well. If you live to the age of 85, you have a 1 in 2 chance of being diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. Certain cancers are increasing in their frequency. In the 1960s, a woman's lifetime risk of developing breast cancer was 1 in 20. Today, it's about 1 in 8. So there's obviously been a mutation in our environments. Our genes haven't changed all that much. And yet the default state for any organism is health. But you look around and people are not healthy. People are not feeling well. When you look in the mirror, I want your listeners to kind of introspect for a minute and ask whether or not you feel healthy, whether or not you feel virile and vital and well. And I wrote this book and I became obsessed with this topic and really communicating this message to anybody who will listen ultimately, because my mom was so sick. And I feel in many ways that she was the canary in the coal mine for the modern way of life.
I never look at it as investments, believe it or not. I just look at it as partnerships, help changing the world, and just being part of something that's inspiring. My business people all the time, whenever they talk about money, you can ask them, I don't want to hear it. But if they bring an idea to me that I think is going to go to the next level, most of the time, if I follow my heart, and everything else will fall in place. I've never ever done a deal, hey, we got this suit company, we throw some pinstripes in the suit, you give me 100,000, we sell 20 of them, I've never did a deal where it was always based on money. I've always did my business deals based on how I felt it was going to go in the future, how I felt it was going to help and inspire somebody.
If I look at what Amazon was able to do 20 years ago, we didn't have to build a transportation network. It already existed. That heavy lifting was in place. We didn't have to build a payment system. That heavy lifting had already been done. It was the credit card system. We didn't have to build, put a computer at every desk. That had already been done too, mostly for playing games, by the way, and so on. So all the pieces of heavy lifting were already in place 20 years ago. And that's why, with $1 million, I could start this company. Today, and then there are even better examples on the internet over the last 20 years. Facebook started in a dorm room. I guarantee you 2 kids cannot build a giant space company in their dorm room.
Don't be so concerned about what you're going to do with those people, but you want to, the joint brain is, there's nothing the joint brain, collective brain, or brains can't overcome. And I give the example of the atomic bomb, Manhattan Project, and they were put together and they were told, we need to develop a weapon of mass destruction, which they didn't call it that back in those days, in the middle 40s, to end the war in the Pacific. And they did. They didn't know if it was implode or explode, but they did. But if your team doesn't look like that, then you should, I won't say you should give serious thought, you should just change.
How much exposure is it? Like Tyler will tell you, sitting right here, one of the only times I still do free work is if it's massive exposure. There are 49,000 people in the audience. I'm like, it's a lot of exposure. Like it's live on, it's during the Super Bowl. Like I'll pay somebody to put me in a Super Bowl commercial, right? Like when I get exposure, and that's where I'm at now. For you, when you pick these 5 restaurants, let it be the biggest restaurants in your 30-mile radius. Let it be the kindest. Let it be somebody who has the biggest Instagram following, and maybe whether you never want to give with expectation, but it's okay to ask. You're like, hey, I'd love to sharpen your knives for free.
The nature of capitalism is that people want to come in and take your castle. Perfectly understand. If I'm selling television sets or something, there's going to be 10 other people who are going to try and sell a better television set. If I have a restaurant here in Omaha, people are going to try and copy my menu and get more parking and take my chef and so on. So capitalism's all about somebody coming and trying to take the castle. Now what you need is a castle that has some durable competitive advantage, some castle that has a moat around it. And that moat, that's one of the best moats in many respects, is to be a low-cost producer. But sometimes the moat is just having more talent. If you're the heavyweight champion in the world and you keep knocking out people, you've got a competitive advantage as long as you can keep doing it. And it's very profitable if you're the one that happens to be able to do it. If you can turn out great motion pictures, I mean, Steven Spielberg, I mean, he's a fellow to bet on, and it has enormous economic value.
There's two sides of pain that I don't think a lot of people really understand, right? There's one side of pain that's the suffering and the discomfort side of pain. That's why everybody raised their hands when I first asked, do you have everybody ever been through pain? Because that hurts. You remember what that felt like. But then there's another side of pain that's called effort. It's called glory. It's called if you can find a way to push through pain, there's something greater on the other side of it. And if you never tap into it, it's because the first time you felt it, you backed off. The first time you felt that burn, the first time you felt that it's too much.
But now, don't get me wrong, there was days I wanted to quit, a lot of days. I almost drove back to Cleveland several times and just gave up, but you know, man, your dreams have to be bigger than all your fears. If you see, that's why you have to have big dreams. Because your dreams have to be bigger than all your fears and all your consequences. What makes people go back is you dream too small. See, your problem in life ain't if you aim too high and you miss it. Your problem in life is if you aim too low and you hit it. That's, you messed up now. So when you aim to the moon and you miss, you still amongst the stars. So it kind of keeps you motivated a lot longer, man, to help you push through. Because everybody's gonna have a push through moment. Because everybody has a turn back moment. The key to making it is you can never turn back. See, God is always coming. And we rationalize with ourselves to where we automatically stop. That's why a bunch of us give up so much in life so quickly. That's why kids have a problem finishing things in today's time. Because as soon as they feel a small bit of discomfort or things ain't right, they're gone. I can't do it no more. But suppose I told you the greatest pain of my life is the reason I'm standing here today. Suppose I was able to share with you. My routine was so crazy, man. I was seeing almost 9 doctors for 9 weeks. 6 a.m., 2 a.m. every morning. 10 days from tricep repair surgery. I had my bike flew out. I flew my bike out. I got on my bicycle. I cycle a lot. I got on my bike, and I tried to grip the bar, and I couldn't grip it. Didn't have enough strength. And I sat there for 30 minutes until I made up in my mind, stop crying, and grip the handlebars. Just grab the bar. See, look, man, when you ask God for something, God boxes it up, put your name on it, and he ships it the day you ask for it. As soon as you ask for it, he ships it. The problem with the package is, he never tells you the date that it's going to arrive. If he did that, it would destroy the one element that he requires, your faith. So God sends your package, but he only delivers to Faith Street. If you step off of Faith Street and you go over here to I Don't Believe It Boulevard, he don't ship that. If you step over here to I Don't See How Avenue, he don't ship that. If you step over here to Ain't No Way Circle, he don't ship that. The package only goes to Faith Street. What happens to the average person is that when the package arrives and you ain't on Faith Street, it's just like the post office and FedEx, UPS. If you ain't there, the package got to go back.
You know how many packages you got in heaven with your name on it that got sent back? This is real talk, man. This is how it works. Being successful, y'all, is not a magic trick. A couple of things kept me going. Most of it was messages that I had learned from my mother. But I learned something about faith. Faith comes from hearing, not from having heard. My mother was telling me those messages years ago. But during my homeless years, I would rehear them, and that's when it mattered. And I had such a grand dream and vision. I was willing to push through to see what the vision was going to be, to see if I could get to the dream. And I kept hearing my mother say words like, God didn't bring you this far to leave you. So I said, okay, well, maybe he ain't left me. Let me just see if I can wake up tomorrow, something change. You know, then I kept hearing stuff like faith is the belief in things that you cannot see. Or say, okay, cool. So I don't see nothing but this homelessness right now, but I think I'm gonna make it one day. And I just kept going, man. I just kept. Now, don't get me wrong, there was days I wanted to quit, a lot of days. I almost drove back to Cleveland several times and just gave up, but you know, man, your dreams have to be bigger than all your fears. If you see, that's why you have to have big dreams. Because your dreams have to be bigger than all your fears and all your consequences. What makes people go back is you dream too small. See, your problem in life ain't if you aim too high and you miss it. Your problem in life is if you aim too low and you hit it. You messed up now. So when you aim to the moon and you miss, you still amongst the stars. So it kind of keeps you motivated a lot longer, man, to help you push through. Because everybody's gonna have a push through moment. Because everybody has a turn back moment. The key to making it is you can never turn back.
See, sometimes we think the pain is what controls us. It's actually our subconscious mind. That if we ever tapped into that, that's what dictates most of our lives. And I'm sitting there and I say, just squeeze it. And I squeezed it. 10 days out. And I started riding a bike 10 days out. Because see, pain is tricky. Because if you don't control pain, it'll control you. And so that's where my psyche started to change, because look, it was already in my mind that I was coming back. But listen to what I had to hear about all of the people who had everything to say about my career was over. Every TV station, every ESPN channel, sad news, Ray Lewis' career is over. And I'm saying, wow, that many people can dictate if I'm coming back or not? That many people got control over what I do from this point forward, going forward. That many people can tell me. Man, I heard one comment says, one of the greatest warriors of all time, and we lose him like this. So I said, oh my gosh, he done wrote me off. I said, I might as well pack it up. But think about what we do the moment we feel that, right? That's back to the two sides of faith, the two sides of pain. See, at that point, I feel like a victim. And I feel like, oh man, why me? You know, and dang it. Then after the first day I rode my bike, I came back. I failed twice. And when I failed, I remember laying on the ground. And I said, Lou, ain't nobody out here gonna help me get up. What makes you get up when you fall down? What makes your mentality change? If there's a great situation or there's a bad situation, how do you dictate that? Based on the level of pain? Because I think that's where we're getting in trouble at. And so when I started cycling, when I started going to see these doctors, I realized that I turned my greatest pain into my greatest achievement.
I don't have no education. I'm not really like school smart, none of that. Now I got a lot of people work for me, got degrees. See, when I don't know something, I pay somebody to know it. Just come stay around here. I come down here and do the gift. I keep telling the jokes. I'm telling you, God has an incredible life for you. All you gotta do is ask Him for it. Be willing to put in the work. But now this work part is hard. Success is hard. But let me ask you a question. Ain't not being successful hard too? So now which hard you want? You want the hard with some options and some benefits, or you want the hard where ain't nothing going on? I'm gonna take the hard with the option and benefits. Give me that hard. Let me try that.